Oh, I didn't see you there. I've just been enjoying watching the morning begin, all while pretending to drink out of a novelty joke mug. It says bacon gives me a reason to get out of bed. So true, mug. So true. Join me, won't you? Okay, so as we talked about at the end of the third quarter, we're going to spend this quarter talking about filling in the pieces that you guys need to be able to move on to a calculus class in college. This all begins with one of the Algebra 2 concepts, which we call exponential functions. Now, I'm going to assume everybody here, because you absolutely should, has a pretty good working knowledge of what we mean when we talk about exponents, when we're raising something to a power, a base in this case, which we might signify as b. All that we mean by an exponential function is that we built a function that contains some kind of exponential component. In this case, the function for a value of x is going to be a base raised to the exponential value of x. So we've got some rules. Number one, obviously x has to be some kind of real number. And don't worry, when you read and work with this a little more, it'll make a little sense. Oh, that reminds me while I'm thinking of it. The video is generally only going to set the base. After that, I'll provide e-text references and supplemental YouTube videos that you can take a look at if you have questions. Now, first of all, the e-text reading is mandatory, and you'll see that in the folder when you look after you're done with this video. However, the videos in general, which are additional, besides this one, are supplemental. You can only look at them, or you need to only look at them, if you feel like you're not understanding what's going on. Anyway, back to what I was saying. X is any real number, and then our base, a couple of things. And if we were in class right now, I'd get into a deeper explanation of this. Those of you who want to do this research on your own, you can make sense of why. B has to be greater than 0. It can't be a negative number. And it also has, or 0 for that matter, and it also cannot equal 1. So basically, any positive number that isn't 1. Now, the shape of an exponential curve, and here's where I have to take a minute to slow down and be perfectly honest. Unfortunately, the world in which we're living right now, the very fact that you're not in this classroom is based entirely on an understanding of this concept. So if you want to learn more, I guarantee you could have the chance to see exponential curves in the news right now when you look at the data of what we're going through. Anyway, the general shape of that is going to be a curve. So over here in just a second, I want to make sure I'm pointing in a good spot. I'm going to put 2 bugs right here that'll kind of give you an idea of what those general shapes look like. Now I will tell you that one of those, this one, is the general shape of a curve of a number of 1 or greater. And the other one, that's this one, is generally the shape of a value between, of a base value between 0 and 1. In other words, what we might think of as a decimal number. As you work with this more, it'll make more sense. Now, this is where I realized watching these videos, I do have to say, and you've been kind to me about this for very long, is that I do definitely use the word now as a punctuation mark between sentences. I'm going to work on that. Now, I want to talk about a particularly important number in mathematics. And if you are going to be headed towards calculus, this number is absolutely crucial. We signify it as E. If I were in class with you, I'd talk a little bit more about the reasoning behind that. This is what is known as the natural base. And I want to make sure everybody gets the chance to see how we represent the natural base. Here is what the natural base is represented as. 1 plus 1 over n to the nth power. Now, right now, if you take a look at that, it might not necessarily make sense to you at first. So I'm going to actually ask you in the e-text to pay attention to a chart that looks like this. And when you get to that page that has that chart on it, really pay close attention to what you're looking at. So we use that natural base to form what is known as the natural exponential function. And it's really important for you to understand right now. Many times in math, we can choose values in whatever form we want. This is one of those fundamental bedrocks of mathematics, certainly of advanced mathematics. So I want to make sure everybody understands. It's going to seem very simple right now. F of x equals e raised to the x power. And remember, e is represented by this idea right here. We'll talk more about that, and you'll see it in the reading. Last thing, you're going to be using a calculator a lot in this section. So it's going to be important that you familiarize yourself with the e raised to the x power key. You'll be able to find it. If you can't, maybe I can take a picture of it and show it to you on tomorrow. When we get started, I'll find it on a calculator and show it in case you can't find it. But be looking for it, because you will need it to do tonight's homework. So that said, this is the basics. You should be able to work through most of the stuff. My instinct is tomorrow to open up a discussion group for any questions you might still have. But absolutely, if you're working today, send me an email if anything is unclear. Once again, check out the e-reading after this, and make sure you look at the supplemental videos if things are still confusing to you. So, if there aren't any questions, that was a really silly thing to ask. So, over and above the work that we discussed, let's talk a little bit about how the rhythm's going for you on the second day. How did the first day go? Ask yourself some basic questions. Were you able to keep up with your work? Did you have efficient means of contacting your teachers if you had questions? Did you make sure to follow the instructions that they gave you? I hope you guys can think about the way in that this system is something that really can cause you guys to be successful, as long as you set up clear and regular patterns of behavior that you know are reliable and that you know you can trust and that you know show good effect. So if there's anything I can do to help you with that as well, please let me know. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.